So, the question has been posed. Gratuitous violence, yay or nay? And the answer is simple. Yay, as long as the story supports it. Now, what I mean by that is you have the films Hostel and Saw, I think, are a perfect example, or at least the first Saw, maybe the second one as well. In Hostel, you have something that, from my opinion, is not so much written as a bunch of random scenes put on a dartboard and a bunch of boys drunk and having fun, and then sitting down and going, right, how can we really, really gross people out while making it look like torture? Guess what, lads? People have been doing that since forever, okay? But there's no story. Yeah, okay, people get abducted, blah, 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 blah. The storyline is a sentence long. Now, by the same respect, Saw. Yes, there was gratuitous violence in that. Yes, the traps and everything else. However, at least, and as I said, I recognise the fact that although I'm a fan of the entire series, most people don't think that it's any good past the first or second one. Point is, at least for the first and second one, good story. Had you thinking, had you wondering what was going on, had you not sure, had that sense of doubt, which is essential to all horror. In Hostel, all you got was, yeah, okay, when are they actually going to get to the point of this film, which was supposed to be people getting tortured, and that's all there is to this film, isn't there? There's no story. Oh, look, a sex scene. Well, that's why the gods invented porn. Yeah. I think possibly they could have been trying to cash in on what the Japanese have been doing for ages, which is that Gore fest, can't remember the word, but it involves gore. Now, I've seen one or two of them, and the biggest difference between them and Hostel is the fact that they never pretended to be anything they weren't. They never pretended to have a good storyline. They never pretended to be anything more than an excuse for gratuitous violence. Once again, I'm all for violence as long as there's a storyline. I'm not a big fan of these particular Japanese movies, which is an oddity in itself, because Japanese culture and stuff I do genuinely love. But in this particular circumstance, their affinity for all things splatterfest, basically in your face. Dresden Files for Splatterfest, by the way, before anyone says it. Doesn't appeal to me, and I think that the notion of filmmakers relying on that kind of thing is probably based on the premise that the originals like Evil Dead and the early Romero movies had to make do with things like that. The reason they had to make do with things like that was because of budget, and also because they were actually well written as well. But most people don't realise that, or don't remember it, or don't bother thinking of it. When it comes to modern horror movies and their association with the classics, they think, oh, it's full of blood, full of gore. That's what a classic horror movie is. This thing's full of blood, it's full of gore. This what's a classic horror movie must be like. No, what a classic horror movie must be like is something that actually makes you feel afraid, or at the very least creeps you out a little bit, for God's sakes. All Hostel and those kind of films do is make you sit there and go, wow. Ugh. Hell, Brain Dead, one of Peter Jackson's greatest films. There is a scene, I swear to the gods, where you can just tell someone is standing off stage with buckets, huffing them at the main actor. And you know what? I bet they had a blast. And yeah, the story is a little bit contrived, but hey, it's funny. They weren't trying to be anything they weren't. They weren't trying to make you think that here's going to be a really suspenseful, nail-biting story that's going to have you at the seat of your pants and then scare the balls off you with something truly, truly dramatic. No. They were just going, hey, we're going to have a laugh. This thing's going to be full of blood. It's going to be full of gore. We're going to see what we can do about sticking in a story. They knew what they did. Peter Jackson, he knows storytelling, as proven by what he's gotten into since. And that was, what made Brain Dead a classic. There's the other one. He has another film that I can't think of. Bad Taste, that's it. Not a big fan of that one. Brain Dead I thought was great. Bad Taste, not so much. Once again, with Bad Taste, it's all gore, and I don't think the story was there. But once again, the old question is gore. Does it belong in horror movies? Absolutely. Does a lot of gore belong in horror movies? Definitely. Does storyline belong in horror movies? You're damn fucking right it doesn't. If you don't have a storyline, there's no point in you putting in gore. End of discussion.